Thanks for listening to Gossip with Celebrity, brought to you by Celebrity.com. This week we talk about the royals and Bill and Melinda Gates' divorce. We end with our weekly feature, the comments of the week. The stories, photos, and tweets we talk about can be found at Celebrity.com/podcast under episode 92. Hi, I'm Katie, the founder and editor of Celebrity.com, and I write as Celebrity.
And I'm Chandra, I'm the head writer for Celebrity, and I write as Kaiser.
So we're going to be off next week, which is also Memorial Day weekend, and we'll be back on June 6th. I can't believe it's June already, but that's when we'll be back. So
yeah, this month is flying by, but it's nice. I like that.
Yeah, it's decent. I've been out hiking a lot and walking because it's warmer, and I like it warm.
And that's crazy to me. I've been walking this whole pandemic year. I've discovered the joy of walking when it's really cold. Like, I love it when it's icy.
No.
I can walk forever when it's really cold. But, we talked about this earlier. I was like, fuck it. I'm going to go take a little walk in 85-degree heat just to see if, I still hate it. Guess what? I still hate it.
I just went out today, right before we got on.
Yeah, me
just
too.
In my neighborhood. And it's nice. I like it warm.
No, it sucks. We're just really different on that. It sucks.
Well, Florida warm is so hot and muggy and terrible, but warm around here is nice if it's a little breezy, if it's in the 80s.
It gets really muggy here, though.
In the summer, in the dead of summer. But right now, I like the weather. I think it's perfect for walking. And I've been getting into, going hiking. And I'm such a fuss bucket. I didn't think I would like that, but I really do. I like going in the woods and tromping around the trails.
Yeah, it's nice going in the woods. It really is.
It's beautiful out there. I'm surprised that I like it.
I go to this park where it's half the trail is in the woods and then half the trail is around this tiny little lake.
Oh, nice.
And so I get the best of both, just gravel and then mud and whatever.
There's these deep woods trails near me, and I finally went to them, and I was like, okay, I don't feel scared or anything. And they give you a map when you go in there, and I liked it, so I'm going to do it some more. I went out with some women in a hiking group and did a harder hike, but that was fine because I was with other people, and I wasn't worried that I would get lost or anything. But
how long is the trail, the trail that you just walked?
The one I walked a couple of days ago was 2 miles in the woods.
Oh, okay.
So not bad, and I know you go 3 or 4 or something, but to me, if I go a couple miles and some of it's uphill and stuff, that's challenging enough,
I just did 2 miles before we came on, and that was just in the little dinky park by my house. And it sucks that it's so warm. That's all I'm going to say.
Yeah, it was a mile and something and around my neighborhood is all, but yeah, I like it like this, so. I wasn't going out earlier in the spring because I was like, oh, it's so cold.
Oh, it was awesome.
I'm sorry.
We've had such a mild spring. It's been incredible.
It's been a nice spring, I guess. All right, let's talk about the royals. We heard that Princess Beatrice is having her first child. She's expecting with her with her husband now, Edoardo Mapelli Mozzi. They got married in July of last year. And they made the announcement on Harry and Meghan's wedding anniversary, which is no coincidence. It was so freaking passive aggressive.
Right.
When you're pregnant and you wait 3 months and you could have some leeway in that announcement time.
Right. And they chose that day. And it wasn't just Beatrice and Edo. It was everyone in the royal family. They were doing the most to ignore Harry and Meghan and to put all of the attention on themselves. It was really a clown show. It was. Why would you be passive aggressive about your pregnancy announcement?
I guess you would, because Meghan supposedly announced at her sister's wedding, but that's not really how it happened. It was just kind of whatever.
Yeah, and I don't get why we're still debating that endlessly. There's a lot of reporting that suggests that Meghan was talking about her pregnancy at the wedding. They never said that she came out and told everyone.
Announced it. Right,
yeah.
Right.
But Beatrice was legitimately upset that Meghan was getting so much attention for her pregnancy at the
other
wedding.
one, Eugenie.
Oh, yeah, Eugenie. Sorry.
It's okay. It's really easy to confuse them because nobody pays attention to them.
Yeah.
Eugenie has the husband who adores her. Beatrice has the social climbing husband.
Yeah. Jack Brooksbank seems like a really good guy, actually.
Yeah, he seems like a good husband.
I get why they're together. They make a good couple. I do not get Beatrice and Edo at all.
Yeah, Edo looks like he's checked out, but we'll see. And we're still hearing a lot of criticism about Prince Harry being on the Armchair Expert podcast. It's like these people didn't even listen to what he said, which is what they always do.
Yeah, I mean, but I've been saying this in all of my coverage. Like, doesn't the controversy feel very phoned in? Did we talk about this last week? It feels like they're just trying to make something out of nothing, and they're really just kind of like, oh, this is just terrible, blah, blah, blah.
Like a paint by numbers thing they're doing with their articles.
Right.
Yeah. It does seem like that.
I mean, we knew that they would be upset about the interview because they're upset about anything they do, Harry and Meghan do. They're just going to overreact to everything now. And I can only imagine like how they're going to overreact to the Apple TV series.
Yeah.
Like that's a whole other thing. But it felt very false. It just felt like they didn't even really care about it, and they were just trying to make something out of nothing.
That makes sense. And I see that in the way that they're talking about it, too, because it just, they mischaracterize everything he says, which is what they always do. Camila Tominey was on a show called This Morning, and she called Harry damaged. She said, the Americans are rubbing their heads together with glee. They know this man is quite damaged, disenfranchised from his family. I know they have to earn a living and they are seeking financial independence in America, but let's just handle all of this with care. Harry doesn't have agency at all, and he's being used by these American podcasters. I don't get it.
And like someone like Camila Tominey is mad because she's used to exploiting the royals, and she's mad that she doesn't have that access anymore. And I think so many of the royal commentators are mad that they have lost these cash cows. Meghan and Harry were going to finance their business for decades. And now they're gone and they've lost their access. And all they have is boring Will and Kate.
They're getting the pantsuit off of them by Meghan too. So.
Yeah, that's true. But yeah, like Camila Tominey was like only just one part of this like movement by the palaces and by the press to gatekeep how Harry tells his story and how he talks about his own mental health. Oh, yes, we're mental health activists, but just don't talk about it. You know, that's horrible. That's so vile to do it in that tacky way.
And they're stigmatizing people who seek help, too, by calling him damaged and using this terrible language around it.
Yeah.
And in the interview, Harry said they would do this to him.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's exactly what they did to Harry and Meghan after they did the Oprah interview. They took everything they said and nitpicked it. And it was stigmatizing to other people who have sought help. So here's that segment from Armchair Expert where Harry talked about that.
I guess on this particular subject around mental health, for me, it's always unfortunately, today's world is quite a sensitive subject, not just for the people who are sharing, but ultimately the subject matter itself has to be handled with care.
Yeah.
There can be humor, there can be everything else, but when it ends up getting weaponized by certain people...
Headlines,
yeah, you can never predict it, though in this instance you probably can. But that doesn't worry me anymore. I used to be fearful of it.
Yeah.
But now it's almost like the same groups of people that come at it so negatively or try and turn it against you or weaponize it and therefore affect so many other millions of people from doing so.
Yeah.
Actually encourages me to speak out more.
Yeah, exactly.
And I guess that's probably the same with you guys and the same people that sat in the same chair, which is like, look, I'm going to be vulnerable. If I get attacked for it, let's see who's actually attacking me.
Yes.
What's their story?
Yeah.
What's their agenda? Right? Who do they work for?
Yeah, he knew that they were going to do it. They did it without any acknowledgement of that. And yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it sucks. And like, I'm glad we're talking about this part of the interview rather than that totally bullshit manufactured controversy over the First Amendment.
Oh, that's so dumb.
Yeah, like Harry didn't mean anything, and he was only like talking in generalities.
He was talking about his own experiences too, with the paparazzi hounding him and his family.
And like the American right-wing media and the British conservative media, like they came together to completely misconstrue what he was saying.
So our side can do it too. It just takes the Republicans, and the MAGAs can do that. That's their job. But yeah, we both listened to this. It was annoying. It was an hour and a half long. And I love Harry, and I really enjoyed what he had to say. But Dax Shepard and his podcast partner, Monica, they were just, yeah.
It was the first time I've ever tried to listen to an Armchair Expert podcast. And yeah, Dax really annoyed me. I got the feeling that he thinks that he's the second coming of Howard Stern. He was trying to do like kind of Stern-like humor. He didn't have any of Stern's grace, which is a weird thing to say.
That's a good way to put it. Yeah, it's grace.
But like Howard Stern is very charismatic. As he's speaking to someone, he gets them to open up, and Dax really wasn't doing that. Harry wanted to open up, and Dax kept interrupting him.
And bringing it around to himself, and how he had a chubby, and... And I was annoyed as somebody who edits a podcast to hear all their bullshit that they should have cut. That could have been a half hour shorter, and we would have gotten everything that Harry said.
You were mad about that movie Minari. You were like, it could have been a half hour short. It was already a short movie. It would have been an hour-long movie by your standards.
It was 2 hours. Minari was 2 hours. It could have been an hour and a half.
No, it did move slowly.
It was a slow-ass movie. You told me it was slow before I even watched it. Oh
it is slow. They could have cut some stuff out, but you were like, it could have been an hour long.
It could have been, like... And it was like so sad too. Like, I don't know.
Yeah,
so
it was depressing. Good performances though. Please see Minari, but just know that the last third of it really drags.
It was. I wouldn't pay $20 for it if it wasn't my job.
No, I would have paid $4 or $5 for it.
Yeah. So we also got the first trailer from Oprah and Harry's Apple Plus series on mental health, The Me You Cannot See. And that's coming out this weekend, right?
Well, we're recording on Thursday. It'll come out tomorrow, Friday, the 21st.
So they have plenty of people's stories featured. A bunch of different people speak. But of course, like the royal press is using what Harry said and freaking out about it, like they did when we got the basic clips from the Oprah interview ahead of time, too.
Mm-hmm. You can tell how freaked out they are because they don't even want to talk about the substance of what Harry is discussing from what we can see in the previews. Like, he's talking like real shit about his mother's death and like being made to walk behind her coffin. They don't want to talk about that shit.
And the trauma that he had at that. And
right.
Dealing with that.
He was just a baby. He was like 12 years old. He was just shy of his 13th birthday. And they made him do that.
He was so young. So just like with his interview, we're getting stories from the royal experts that you've been covering. And a guy named Duncan Larcombe told Closer magazine that Harry's not really happy. He's just faking it, basically. He said, I think what we see and hear from these interviews is a man who is desperately trying to convince himself that he has found happiness and he has been through it all and reached the other side, that he's finally free. I don't think that's the case. He and Meghan aren't happy or free. I don't think his move to LA has solved anything.
Uh-huh.
Like, how?
And they're acting like jilted girlfriends.
Yeah.
They're just so mad, and they keep telling themselves, he's going to come back to us. And then when he does it, they're like, well, he's not even happy with her.
Yeah, exactly. And it doesn't matter what he says or does. They're just going to keep harping on that. It's so dumb. So we talked on Zoom about Harry's interview and also the trailer for The Me You Cannot See. So here's a clip from that.
I enjoyed listening to Harry, but it was like Dax was always making it about himself. And that's what was getting on my nerves.
Or like when he was oogling Harry and he talked about how Harry needs to be on his calendar of men because Dax really loves appreciating men's bodies. And I'm like, okay, I'm glad that he's comfortable with his sexuality to say that. But like you mention it once and then you can leave it. It like what Karen said, he just kept returning to these topics. And he's a man with trauma and he's very upfront and open with it. But it seems like he's using that. I don't want to be unfair to him. It seems like he could be using it as a crutch, but it's something he definitely returns to with ease, it appears.
The whole like returning back to himself, that part didn't bother me because when you're having a conversation with someone and there's something you connect
Bond
with,
over.
Yeah, you connect with.
That's the way I look at it, yeah.
That's how I take it. There was other things about him. I don't know, maybe because he's such a typical white Midwestern male. There was something about him that really bugged me and I can't put my finger on it. But Harry, where the hell is their podcast? Because I would love to hear Harry and Meghan every week.
I'm super excited for the Me You Don't See. I'm super excited for that. One of the royal stories today talked about like, well, this is going against what Harry and William said they would talk about. Like they would stop talking about their mother. And it's like, well, he's not really talking about his mother. He's talking about his trauma response to his mother and overcoming it. But
it's just hilarious how they just really cannot get past the fact that he is actually happy and separate from them because they really was hoping that he would fail. When they were talking about the podcast, of course, they misinterpreted everything or misrepresented everything. So, of course, everybody ended up listening to it. But I just think, again, it goes back to not being able to control him, not having access, and being angry. And, of course, it's Meghan's fault for the fact that he left.
So, yeah, Karen and Courtney were saying the same thing that we were saying earlier, that this is just what they do to Harry. They don't have access anymore, so they just criticize everything. And then they say it's Meghan.
I will say this, since the Armchair Expert interview, it has been a slight change where they have been focusing more on Harry. It used to be where if Harry said or did anything, they would say it was Meghan's fault. Meghan made him do it. Meghan is orchestrating this. The more Harry comes out and tells his story and talks about his shit, they're like, oh shit, Harry's the problem, you know?
Yeah. And could there be a change too because Jason Knopf is no longer in charge of communications for the Cambridges?
Yeah, I mean, that's a big change for how Kensington Palace is messaging their shit. But, like, I'm just talking about, like, the royal commentators, the press. I mean, yeah, they take their cues from Kensington Palace and Clarence House. But, like, they're running on their own shit, too. Okay. They've really made the shift to, oh, wait, maybe it's not just Meghan's fault. You know, like, maybe Harry is really to blame, too.
Because he's been so open about everything he went through and how it was his decision, basically.
Right. Because the story that they were running for the past year and a half was that Meghan made Harry go to America. She forced his hand. She orchestrated the whole thing.
Yeah.
But I do think that this month, May, Kensington Palace has made some big changes. And you can tell that they hired a crisis manager. They're doing much different messaging. Just even from April. They're doing much different messaging.
So they're no longer saying how mad William is about everything, how he's enraged and angry.
Yeah, engorged with rage, please.
That's your wording. Nobody said engorged.
It was implied.
Nobody said that. And like there's a page 6 story today that says that William is dreadfully hurt. By Harry, of course. He's an elegant man who lives for his job, his country, and his family. He's so elegant.
Yeah, and everyone was like, really? You're going to call him elegant? William, I mean, even if you were being generous to him, say that he's like, oh, he's athletic or, you know, he's commanding. He's very tall, you know, something like that. But like to say he's elegant, he's not elegant. He never has been.
I could see him being stuffy, but that's entirely different than being elegant.
He's very stuffy. He's very traditional. He's very conservative.
His wife dresses for him too, so that she can...
God, she has terrible fashion sense.
She does. All right, let's talk about Bill and Melinda Gates. So another big story this week was that we got more on Bill and Melinda Gates' divorce. And we talked about this last week in episode 91. And we wondered why Melinda was like leaking all these stories about Bill. And we thought, okay, maybe she just wants to come out smelling like a rose. You know, she wants to launch her own foundation and win a Nobel Peace Prize. We were talking about that last week.
No, I think that that's all true, that she probably does want to come out smelling clean. She wants to come out with her own foundation, with her own standalone work. And she also wants to fucking destroy her estranged husband now. We understand that.
She wants people to know.
Yeah.
You know, I think she probably has more receipts than she's going to drop, and she's just holding on to them.
Yeah, I mean, we're only 3 weeks into this.
Yeah, exactly. So the New York Times ran this big story that Bill would regularly proposition his subordinates at Microsoft. And he got taken off the board at Microsoft around the year 2000 after he had an affair with a woman who worked for him.
Right. And we didn't know any of that. Like,
no,
I've never heard those rumors, but apparently people knew that stuff in Seattle, maybe.
Yeah.
I guess everyone in Microsoft knew it at the time, too, that he was CEO and, like, he would regularly, like, stop by random subordinates' offices and, like, proposition them and ask them out.
And what would you do? Like, I've had that happen to me at work before, and you're like, oh, this guy is married, he's my boss, it's just like a work thing. It's not a work thing. I hate when guys do that. They ask you out, and you're like, oh, it's a work thing, and they're trying to see if you'll date him, and it's unclear. And I'm sure he did that shit.
Yeah, and, like, the New York Times, they had sources take pains to say, like, oh, it was never harassment because he never retaliated. It was more like just an offer. Like, hey, would you like to go out to dinner? And if you say no, it's fine. You know, nothing is going to happen. But we don't know that. We don't know if he fucked with these women's careers.
Yeah, you don't know. And it makes you as a worker there feel uncomfortable too.
Right.
And then you like avoid doing shit with that person. You avoid asking for different projects where you might have to work with them or asking for raises, that sort of thing. It really affects you as a woman.
Right.
And a lot of men downplay that too because they benefit from that power structure.
And I did not know that that was behind Gates stepping down as CEO. That floored me, that was like the behind the scenes thing, that he had been carrying on an affair.
So he had kids at home and young kids at home when he was having that affair, as you were writing about.
Yeah.
So that was the timeline. She was either pregnant or had babies at home. And it's, jerk.
Yeah, disgusting.
He's probably like, I got to work really hard now. And I'm at the office. You know, I'm at the office. That's what they do. They're like, I'm at the office. And Melinda has hired trust and estate lawyers. So there's speculation that she's going to try to they have 3 young adult children, that she's going to try and get them an inheritance that's more than the $10 million each that she and Bill originally were going to give them.
Right. And like, he's already given Melinda $1.8 billion. And like, that's just the down payment for like the divorce.
Yeah.
Like, so obviously, whatever Melinda gets, I'm assuming that she's going to change the terms of her will as well. And she'll leave her kids more money. But I think she just wants to change the way Bill sees their children and sees inheritance as well.
Yeah. She wants to create multi-generational wealth rather than just give it all to charity, which I don't know how I feel about that. It feels like $10 million is plenty of wealth, but whatever.
Yeah, $10 million is a lot of money. But when your parents are worth $100 billion, I would be offended if they only left me $10 million.
I guess so.
And like, I also feel like they should have, maybe it's something that they're planning on doing, they should bring their kids into the foundation so that the kids understand why they're only getting 10 million.
Yeah, so they can do a lot of amazing good in the world.
And they understand what the money is doing.
Yeah. Oh, it's putting chips in our arms and tracking us. I know that's such a dumb joke, but it still cracks me up whenever somebody says it.
I know. When I was complaining after the second shot about how I felt like crap, someone said, it's the 5G recalibrating.
going to use their web browser now, that Edge browser that they keep trying to make me use. Whenever I open my computer and click on the picture, please use our browser. No. All right, let's move on to the comments of the week. So my comment of the week is on Oya's story about the Shadow and Bone author. Her name is Lee Bardugo. And she was saying that people make fun of the things that women love, like romance novels, fantasy, that sort of thing, like gossip. That's my own words. But so Miranda wrote, I've collected Hello Kitty Sanrio stuff since I was very young. I've got some pretty rare things. When I was in college, I was dating a guy and told him about my collection. He rolled his eyes and said I needed to grow up. While we were sitting in his room full of Star Wars toys and Marvel shit.
It really struck me as I started to watch ESPN more often that sports is just gossip for men. They belittle celebrity gossip, but they just do the same thing with the athletes.
They watch the movies, they watch television.
Yeah.
We just get a little more in depth with it. You know, we have award ceremonies. It's the same thing, I think. And I've tried to school guys about that when they're like, oh, gossip, I don't pay attention to that. I'm like, do you watch sports? It's not any more noble to watch sports.
You know who had some really good comments about this like a few years ago? It was Harry Styles.
Oh, Harry Styles.
He was talking about what it feels like to be a pop star with a majority young female audience.
Oh.
And he was like, it's awesome. Tween girls, teen girls, they're incredible because they know exactly how they feel about you. You know, they're really passionate. He's like, I love having female fan base.
Oh, that's so nice. I want to read that article now. He seems like such a great guy and way too good for Olivia Wilde. I bet they broke up. I bet they're not even together anymore and she just doesn't want to get it out. And he's like, fine.
They're just such an odd couple to me.
Yeah, they are.
More than anything. All right, my comment of the week is, from Kate, the Duchess of Cambridge. She stepped out on Harry and Meghan's anniversary. She went to the Victoria and Albert Museum to open up something or other. But she wore the most hideous Alessandra Rich dress that looked like Christmas wrapping paper. I mean, I'm sure Katie will include the photo in the post, but so it had a drop waist. It had this crazy huge lapel. It had puffy shoulders.
What was it? Houndstooth. It was like red houndstooth.
And it just looked like Christmas wrapping paper. And Kate herself has a long waist, slim hips. It made her look like a fucking tube.
It was not a great look on her. It was pretty bad.
All right, so my comment of the week is from Heather C. She said, she looks like a sad tube of Christmas wrapping paper that is sitting on the very back of the closet because no one will use it. A bit crumpled and wilted. Nothing glamorous. Just very sad, try hard. But at least she's working.
Yeah.
Like, how does she get this wrong after all this time?
We were talking about this on Zoom, so this is not my idea. But somebody was saying that she's cosplaying Diana because it's very late 80s, early 90s, that look.
I mean, like, that's nothing new that she cosplays Diana. But, like, how does Kate consistently get it so wrong for her body type?
I think she just lets other people pick her clothes, maybe. I don't know.
She knows that she has a long waist. Like, she's tried to figure out something to do about that so that she makes her legs look longer. Like, she's tried those twirly little skirts and, like, she's tried all these different things. And, like, then she just backslides and does a drop waist that makes her look like a tube.
Like, yeah, it's very frumpy.
Yeah.
Do you think that her stylists are, like, trolling her?
I wonder if Kate is popular with her own staff, because I don't think she is. I think that she pisses a lot of people off who work for her.
They pick out terrible clothes for her?
Yeah, and they're like, let's help her out. Let's put her in a tube.
But maybe they know, like, the ugly type of clothes that she likes, and they're like, let's see if she'll go for this, and they pick, like, the worst one.
Well, it's not hard, you know. Yeah. I see clothes all the time, and I'm like, oh, God, Kate would love that.
So they're going to Scotland, right?
Yeah. Well, he's going tomorrow, Friday the 21st, and then I think Kate is going to Scotland on Monday.
Well, he just got his first shot, so like he's gonna travel before he gets the second one. No,
before he's recalibrated his 5G. Yeah, he's gonna travel. I mean, like they were traveling right before Christmas when places were shutting down because of the second wave.
And they weren't wearing masks, yeah.
They weren't wearing masks, and they were like breathing on children, and
they were visiting frontline workers. They were honoring them with their presence.
Yeah. But like they're just going to Scotland to watch Cruella and watch a football game, and
they're really doing that? Like I thought you were joking.
No, that was in the Tatler article. I thought you were joking. They're going to watch Cruella with frontline workers or like firemen or something. And William's going to watch a football game with people.
Okay. I thought that was a joke.
They're like children. They have to be given like these tiny little tasks, and they count as events because they're
traveling. This is a big deal.
They won't even get to use the royal train this time, I don't think.
They'll just have to go in the helicopter, the poor thing. All right, thanks for listening, bitches.
Thanks, bitches.
Thank you for listening to the Celebrity Podcast. Please rate, review, and subscribe wherever you listen. If you like us, please turn off your ad blocker when you visit our site. You can text us or leave a voicemail at 434-218-3219. Our music is from AA Alto, Maiden, and via Premium Beat and Sound of Picture. Thanks again.